If you're feeling frazzled, overwhelmed, not sure how you can keep carrying the load that you have to carry, if you want more calm in your day, if you want more ease, if you want more peace of mind, well, what I'm covering today is going to help you. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dr. Gail Gazelle. I'm faculty at Harvard Medical School. I'm a former hospice and palliative care doc, and I've had the pleasure over the last 14 years of coaching over 500 physicians and physician leaders. Along the way, I did a 2-year mindfulness meditation teacher training in person with Tara Brock and Jack Cornfield. And I channel a lot of what I've learned, in addition to my own experience and my experience coaching so many physicians, into everything that I write and talk about. So, what are we talking about here? The inner narrator. Well, what? Who's that? What is the inner narrator? Well, it's that voice that we all have inside of us, that voice that's talking to us all day long, telling us that what we're doing is good or bad, judging everything around us, telling us that our nose is too big and that, our sister's kids are better behaved than ourselves, on and on and on. And it's a really noisy voice. And if you think about it, it's somewhat helpful to think about this as a roommate, an inner roommate, and think for a moment of roommates that you had back in college or whenever you did. And let's think about this roommate as a generally likable soul. You pick them to room with for a reason, and yet they sit really close to you. They talk, talk, talk. They whisper things in your ear, and no matter what you do, you can't get away from them. Now, would you tolerate this kind of behavior from somebody outside of yourself? Probably not. You'd get rid of this individual pretty quickly. And yet, when we pay attention to what's going on in our own minds, it's as if we live with that inner roommate talking at us constantly about everything and about nothing, about fears and worries, replaying things from the past, you name it. So what's really key here is getting to know this inner roommate, this inner narrator, getting clear about this voice, and very importantly, realizing that the inner narrator is not you. In fact, none of your thoughts are you, and I include this in my recent book, Mindful MD, 6 Ways Mindfulness Restores Your Autonomy and Cures Healthcare Burnout. And guess what? The first way is recognizing that you are not your thoughts, excuse me. So that's a lot of what mindfulness is about, is becoming aware of what's going on in this instrument that we all use, but most of us receive little training about how to utilize it as best as we can. So we want to become the observer, because when we do, something very important happens. We create a gap between ourselves and our thoughts, between ourselves and our emotions, between ourselves and our physical sensations. And that gap is critically important because it creates just a little bit of space where we become less entangled with the thoughts, with everything that inner narrator is telling us. And we realize something very important. We realize that we have a choice. We can follow along with what that inner narrator is gabbing to us about, but we don't have to. We can actually let those thoughts simply pass through the mind, just like clouds pass through the open sky. That's tremendous agency when we fundamentally see this kind of parade that's going on, charade, you might even say, but we kind of realize, like the emperor having no clothes, that we don't have to follow along with everything our mind and the inner narrator is telling us. And when we see that, it's almost like the Viktor Frankl quote, that's the final freedom that can't be taken really from any of us, is that power to choose, that choice, how we respond to what's going on inside and around us. And that's the autonomy that mindfulness can restore, even when the systems around us, like in healthcare, are mightily broken. Now, how do we become the observer of the mind? Well, I got to tell you, meditation is the fastest way and the most sure way, because what are we doing in meditation? Well, we're going inside and we're observing what the mind is up to. We're seeing just how many thoughts we have. We're seeing how many of those thoughts are judgments and not exactly positive ones. We're seeing that our mind is creating all kinds of havoc, all kinds of stress for us, in addition to whatever stress is going on around us. So meditation does take effort. It does take practice. It's very un-American to sit quietly and actually pay attention to what's going on inside of you. And yet the payoff is really profound. It's not going to happen once with meditating. It's called a practice for a reason. Your mind has gotten a lot of reps in being busy, feeding you all of this nonsense that the inner narrator creates. So it takes a lot of reps, just like going to the gym and all those reps that you get in to build skeletal muscle. That's what we're doing in meditation. So I want to encourage you to meditate. Start with 2 minutes, start with 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be this big, daunting thing. The key is to get that practice in, get those reps in, really seeing what your mind is up to. Because I can guarantee you, the more you know what your mind is up to, you will develop that autonomy, that ability to choose which of these thoughts you follow and which you let pass by. This is an important cure, not just for burnout, but really for stress, for overwhelm, for feeling frazzled and wondering how we can go on with whatever it is that we need to get done in this one precious life that we get to lead. I hope this can be helpful to you. Thank you for your attention today. And I truly wish you many, many moments of clarity and calm.